Hey y'all, I'm Elisa, the Scrappy Wife behind ScrappyWife.com, and today I am going to get all set up for Word Nerd. This is the September devotional from Illustrated Faith. It is full of all of these great cards. There's just, you guys, there's a ton that comes in the kit. I have a full unboxing of the kit up on my channel, so I will link that and you can check that out. But today I'm going to get set up so I have all the parts of the kit. I have some papers from Felicity Jane and maybe a few little sneaky sneaks that might find their way over into my setup as well. So I will put you guys on fast forward. I will link everything that I use down below. Otherwise, let's go. This was one of those times where I had the project in my head. Like I knew what I wanted to do. I wanted to create a mini album out of envelopes because I thought that would be a really effective way to use these cards from the Word Nerd study, be able to pull them out, access them, read them, write on them really easily, and then incorporate them back into a mini album. So I had the idea. I wasn't totally sure how to work it out. And so you'll see me kind of figuring it out as I go, which is kind of my style of crafting. I don't need to know all the things. I just need to have an idea, and then I just kind of go with it and keep creating until I am pleased with what I get. So I started out by taking those 12 by 12 papers. I cut them in half at exactly 6 inches. Turns out I needed one more paper because I was wanting to make 12 envelopes. So there's 5 weeks in September. I wanted 2 envelopes for each week. It was a lot of a math problem. So there's 4 cards per week, 5 weeks in the month, and then there were some intro cards. And so I thought we will do 12 different envelopes, and then it was about how to fold the envelopes so that they still fit the cards pretty easily. And I didn't want to go bigger than 6 inches tall because I didn't want to have to bust into even more paper. I thought, wouldn't it be convenient if I could just use a 12 by 12 piece? And that's what I did. So the final decision on where to score, this is my scoring board from EK Tools. I scored at 5.5 inches and then at 11 inches. And that is how I created each envelope, folding at 5.5 and folding at 11.5. You can see it folds over and you have that little flap that makes it an envelope. So I will go through and do that on all of the other pieces of paper that I cut. Like I said, I'm working with 12 envelopes. That's the goal. I'm using both sides of the Felicity Jane paper. I love when paper is double-sided and then you're using it for envelopes because you automatically have that cool liner effect that I think is really neat and really kind of elevates the whole look. I picked mostly some muted colors, a little bit of color that I thought kind of coordinated well with the kit. But as I was picking papers, I pulled out that card, the thank you card that comes with the kit, because Shanna Noel gives you some color swatches to help you pick from your supplies so that you can pick colors that are going to go with the kit. It made it super easy to go through my papers and find some that I thought would match really well. All right, I knew I would be stuffing cards into these envelopes and I wanted to make the cards easy to pull out. So I'm using this punch. This is actually a scalloped circle punch, and I'm just putting the papers halfway and cutting out kind of a half circle. It's got some scallops, give it a little extra character, but this is going to allow you to see the cards kind of peeking out so you know that it's an envelope and that there is a card there. It'll make it easier to pull the cards in and out as I'm working, and it just adds an extra little touch. So you could easily just trace a half circle and then cut it out. If you don't have a punch, you could use a regular circle punch. You don't have to use a scalloped one. I actually just don't have a regular circle punch that's this big, and so this one works out well for me. So I'm going to punch all of these, and then I will take a little bit of adhesive to put the envelope together. I'm going to reinforce the envelopes with my sewing machine. So I'm just going to lightly do a little bit of adhesive on the sides so that the envelope comes together, stays together, and then I will take the whole stack over to my sewing machine and add a little bit of that thread detail, which I love in a mini album. Adding texture is always fun, but it's also just going to serve to reinforce these. I do plan to get the cards in and out frequently, and so in my head I didn't think the adhesive would keep it the whole time. I wanted to use some stronger adhesives on this project because I want it to hold up the whole month. Once I had all of the sewing done on the cards, I just have a Janome sewing machine. It's pretty standard, but I only sew paper, so it doesn't need to be super powerful. I'm going to cut off all the little strings, even though I kind of like them hanging off, but we'll still have a little bit showing. It feels like trimming hair, to be honest. There were a lot of strings. Okay, I have all these envelopes. Now I'm going to figure out how I'm going to put the book together. And here is what my final decision is. I take 2 envelopes at a time and I put them back to back. So you can see that it almost looks like a T when it's put together. So back to back with the envelopes. This one I do backwards, and then I realize, oh, nope, back to back. And then the little flaps are sticking out. Those flaps are going to be important in a minute, and they're going to allow me to add even more interest to this mini album. But this is how I'm going to format these particular pieces. So I'm just trying to make sure they're all flat as can be, and then they're all kind of laid out how I want them, flipping over because I want the wood piece on the front. And then I'm going to start adhering them together. So here's my idea. When the 2 flaps meet, the 2 like tops of the envelopes, I can use those 2 tiny little flaps. They're very small. They're only like 3/4 of an inch to adhere something else. So here we go. Back to back, adhered together. Ta-da. I'm going to put all of them together actually. And then in between, I'll be able to have some extra pages that are not envelope pages, but they're pages I can decorate, pages I could write prayers or extra notes. There is a lot of room to write on the actual cards this month, so I can write on those, but I can have some extra decorative pages that give this more of a junk journal feel, which I am super pumped about. I love how this came out. Like, spoiler alert, I'm obsessed with how my little mini album came out, and it makes me even more excited to jump into this kit because it just means I get to have my hands on this mini album more, and it's the cutest little thing ever. So adhering all of these together, I did use my Fabri-Tac glue because, like I said, I wanted the adhesion to be really strong because I knew this was going to be handled a lot. Okay, so there we go. We have the little tabs, and then these will be in the middle. So I got this paper pad from Illustrated Faith, and I tore off a couple of the pages, and then we're going to adhere them together so that it's kind of a front and back look. And see how I'm putting it on the inside of this flap. So I'll add a little bit of adhesive. This will be right on the edge. And then we'll come back with the Fabri-Tac glue, a little bit of adhesive, and then I decide, you know what, let's go for it with Fabri-Tac. Putting the Fabri-Tac glue down, and then I will take my next envelope set. This is 2 put together. Use the little flap, and now you can kind of see the book coming together. I hope that makes sense. So you have envelope opening, extra page, and then another envelope opening. Then I went through my stash and I found all kinds of fun papers I can use. This is kind of like a watercolor card, so we'll put that right there, adding in the Fabri-Tac to really seal it up. That'll go there, and then my next envelope set, attaching just the flap, and then making sure everything is lined up right at the binding. Next up, I decided to use this library paper again, so we'll take 2, put them together so that they're front and back, just adding that fun adhesive, and then same thing, putting it together front and back, makes it a little thicker. Put a tiny little bit of adhesive on the edge of the flap so that this will stick in place, just like that. Then I'm going to come back with the Fabri-Tac, adding that in. There was a little bit of adhesive that got on the envelope, so I'll have to come back and kind of fix that. Add in the Fabri-Tac, pull my next envelope set that I've already glued together, and flap it down. And it's really coming together. Now I have this cute bingo card, it's a vintage bingo card. I think it's adorable. So let's add this in because now it really is kind of feeling like a junk journal, and I'm all about that. I think that is so fun as a way to create a mini album and a way to kind of document your study. Why not just do something totally fun, like a junk journal, and use up some of the pieces that you may have been hoarding away in your stash, because whenever I find bingo cards, I definitely kind of want to hoard them. All right, so bingo card in place. And then I think for my last piece, I have a paper bag that has this really cool pattern on it. And so I'm going to pull the paper bag in. It'll give me like a double page towards the end, which I think will be great, and the opportunity for another little pocket. So I'm going to fold the bag in half and put it on like this, because I think that'll be a good way. I'll be able to put like a tag or something in the opening, and it fits really well right there. And then let's add fabric tack right here. And now my little book is coming together pretty darn well. It is a cutie. I'm just missing a cover at this point. So I'm going to grab some binder clips, bind this together so that it can, stay tight while it is drying. And I'm going to take my attention to creating a cover. For the cover, I grabbed an old cereal box. So we're going to go with Cheerios, and I'm cutting it down so that I can use my large paper cutter and get some straight cuts on this. This book measures 5.5 inches across and 6 inches tall. So I'm actually going to cut 2 pieces of cardboard for the front and 2 pieces of cardboard for the back, both of which are 5.5 inches wide, 6 inches tall. I'm not worried about covering that back binding quite yet. That will be covered in a different way. I just want kind of a thicker feel for the cover. So I thought 2 pieces of cardboard together would give me that thick feel. Most of the pages feel pretty thick because it's a lot of cardstock put together with those envelopes. And so I wanted the cover to have just as much of a thickness to it. So I guess a good weight to it. So you can see gluing the Cheerios part together. So we just end up with a brown piece that is 2 cereal boxes thick, I guess you would say. If you have a bigger piece or a thicker piece of cardboard, like an Amazon box or something like that, that would totally work as well. So I have my front cover and my back cover. Here is my book. All I'm going to do is just adhere it on that little flap that's left on the front, and we will adhere it on the little flap that is on the back as well. So just making sure it's lined up as well as I could line it up. That's actually the back, and this is going to be the front with the wood. That'll be where the introduction is. So let's add in this. Putting the top back on my fabric tack because I certainly didn't one time, and it definitely kind of exploded on my table. So that is looking good. And now for the part that I wasn't sure would work and then worked out really, really well. This is the bag that the Word Nerd kit came in. I think it is so cute. It's like old school notebook paper, and I think it's adorable. I've been loving all of the bags from Illustrated Faith recently. I used a lot of mine over the summer with Revival Camp, and this one is going to be awesome. So I'm going to wrap my little mini album. Do you guys remember when you used to have to wrap your textbooks and you would use the like brown paper bag or newspaper or whatever? That's how I'm going to wrap this. It took me a minute to like figure it out again. But you guys, it turned out so cute, and I feel so bad for kids today because all of their textbooks, I feel like, are on the computer and they don't get to wrap books. And do you remember how fun it was to wrap your books and then decorate the book cover? Like this was awesome. It threw me back to like middle school and high school wrapping my textbooks. I thought this was so fun. So I put it in the middle. I cut 2 little slits like that. It went right up to the edge of the binding, and then I'm just folding that over, and that's where my middle part is going to go. So this is the shape I have now. This is me, like I had to think through it a bunch of times just to make sure I was kind of doing it the right way, because you need a little wiggle room, because when you pull it up straight, it pulls the paper. So I'm going to go ahead, we're going to put some fabric tack, and I'm going to adhere it while it's there, and then see how I pull it up. That's important. You can't adhere it flat, or else you need a little wiggle room where that binding is, if that makes sense. So we're going to do the same thing over here. Put the fabric tack on, try to do a good job getting it to the edges, and then let's adhere it while the book is closed, because that is like the stretch that you need. I hope I'm describing this well. You need a little give where the binding is. Okay, so that is all adhered down. This is when I left my fabric tack glue on its side, and then it leaked out on my table. So do as I say, not as I do. Put your cap back on your glue. Corners, fold it in at a 45-degree angle, kind of like you're dog earing a page. Do the same thing on the bottom corner. Add some adhesive so it sticks, just makes it easier as you're working. 45-degree angle. Now fold in from the bottom, adhesive. Be generous with the adhesive, because why not just go for it with the adhesive. Add it in, and then fold up nice and tight. Same thing right here, add adhesive. You can see I pretty much covered the whole thing with adhesive. Fold down, and then right here, fold over. Super cute, over. All right, same thing on the front. So it's the Fabri-Tac glue dries pretty fast. Go for the corners first, fold them in, 45-degree angle, fold in, 45-degree angle. I sped it up the second time. Now bring this down, add plenty of adhesive, like I said. Bring this in right here, and then fold in from the side, and you get a nice little corner there. It looks pretty good. And then all you have to do, look how cute this book is coming out. All you have to do then is cover up the inside, and you'll see how I do that in a moment. All right, before I go any farther on decorating my little book, I want to make sure that all the cards fit in. So I'm going to do the intro cards here. And then, like I said, each week I'm going to divide into two. So you have the 2 cards at the front, second 2 cards that are reflection. 5 weeks, there's a little page in between each set of cards. I think this is going to turn out so well. So I'm actually not going to do all of the decorating right now. I've put this book together. I will be honest, it took me probably an hour and a half to do this full project, which is why this is a longer video than normal. It took me an hour and a half to put it together. The hardest part is done. So when I go back to study and I want to do some decorating, I'll be able to just put on stickers and add stamps and do some of the fun stuff. I don't have to do any more assembly, which is what takes a little while when you're doing like a mini album like this. So this will be the front. We have the Word Nerd intro right here. You might be seeing a little sneaky sneak of something coming to the Print and Pray shop very soon. Hint, hint. And it's from one of my favorite artists, Tamara. So make sure to stay tuned and go check out the Print and Pray shop. I will certainly update the description of this video as soon as this cutie set is released. But seriously, those pencils, so cute. And then that little like badge piece says Word Nerd Forever. Love it. And of course, some gorgeous florals because I can't resist Tamara's florals. They're the best. I love them so much. I just love all the florals. I love Kelly Bang's florals. I love all of the florals that we see over in the Illustrated Faith Print and Pray shop. They get me every time. So I printed this on clear sticker paper. This worked out really well. So what happens is I'm going over the binding. It kind of reinforced it, you guys. Like that's just a bag that's covering my little book. But once I added the clear sticker paper, it made it feel more secure, which I really, really appreciated. So that is kind of a cool effect and it worked really well. So I highly suggest that, adding those to your covers because I really feel like it just gives it a little more strength. Now we have some of the cereal box showing through on the front and also the back. So let's cover that up. I'll use another one of these cute little notepad pieces. We'll add that in here and another little element that, you know, you might find pretty soon. So putting that in, and I'm just adding some little intro stuff. The cool thing about creating a mini album like this is what you add to it as you study. I think it'll be so fun to flip through this at the end. I hope it is like junked out in the best possible way with all of the beautiful words and illustrations and all of the fun things that you can get with this kit. Throughout the month, there's always new printables coming to Illustrated Faith, and I know I'm going to want to get them and add them in. And so it's fun to get it set up, and then it's fun to see it kind of evolve over the month as you actually do the study. So let's add a little bit of washi tape. This beautiful blue washi tape, again, available over at Illustrated Faith. It is the perfect blue to complement the yellow, in my opinion. So we're going to put this ephemera piece down, and then I'll end up adding a label sticker, and later on I'll probably do some stamping and title it Word Nerd 2022. And we'll do a little cluster of pieces to decorate this intro page. But otherwise, I mean, I'm going to save stamping, I'm going to save decorating, but I am so pleased with how this came out. It is adorable. So let's use one of these fiber papers. This is actually a sticker, this typewriter piece, and maybe another floral, because why not? So this is cool. Printing the florals on the clear sticker paper and then putting it on patterned paper. Yes, it looks so cool because the pattern is coming through the florals. And it's still kind of dark because of the wood, but you are getting a little bit of the color from the florals. I always trim off and then reuse that extra little floral part on stickers because I don't want to waste any of the paper, and why not? Because as I want to get all the florals in as I can. Oops, I got a little string there, and then in all honesty, I couldn't get it off. So we just went for it and put it down. Okay, we'll add this and this, and like I said, it's just a fun little cluster. This one, not a whole lot of meaning right there, but as I study and read, I can add more pieces that have more significance and meaning for me. P.S. I love that this typewriter is a sticker. I just like the feel of it. Let me know below how you are going to work through Word Nerd. It's 5 weeks long. There's 4 cards for each week. It is an in-depth study, and I'm super excited to work through it. I think this mini album is going to come in really handy. I love that I'm going to be able to pull out the cards and work on them separately, like outside of the album, and then I can come back to the album after I've done the studying part. So being able to separate the two of those really helps me out. And so I'm excited that I'll be able to do that with this format. I'm going to add a little bit more texture with some green string behind my little canceled postmark piece right here. And then the last part that I need to do, we're going to flip through it here in a second. And I realize that the back cover, the back inside cover also needs to be covered up. And I'll just use some vintage book paper to do that and leave the decorating for another day. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and consider hitting that subscribe button as well as the bell notification button. Like I said before, I will link the supplies that I used down below, but it's mostly from Illustrated Faith and then some papers from Felicity Jane that I had in my stash. I want to give a huge shout out to all of my Patreon members. Thank you all so much for all of your support. It means the world. We're having a great time busting through our stash over on Patreon this month. So if you want some extra Bust Your Stash content, you might want to check it out over there. All right. I hope that you all have a fabulous day. And as always, keep it creative.